911, what
Not for nothing, but what the shit is up, you Christmas sons of bitches?
Not for nothing.
Oh my goodness gracious gravy. Let's get this stuff going and get crazy. Ow!
It's that Jingle Balls time of year. We're going to get real deep with the Christmas stuff with a bloody Christmas episode. Joe Bagos' new movie. Aside from that, what's going on with everybody? How's y'all's week been?
Pretty good. Had the work Christmas party. We did the white elephant. I don't think anybody was as thrilled.
Tell them what you got you as a white elephant gift for an office party.
Oh, I bought a a office possum. He hangs on cubicles, and I don't know. I thought it was awesome, but apparently I'm the only person who thought it was awesome. I did see him in the office today. He was tucked near a Christmas tree, around it. He already had a name tag on. I don't know. So people are starting to have fun with it. That was my whole point.
Did the person who won it at least try to feign like that they were happy to have it?
Oh, a rat? I'm like, come on, that's insulting. It's an office possum.
Good Lord.
It sounds like an amazing gift, Kelly. I think you did a great job.
Well, there was also a lottery ticket, and what else did I put in there? There was something. Oh, like a little board for the cubicles that you put the letters on. I don't know. It wasn't a terrible white elephant gift. I loved the office possum.
It was my birthday over the week, and Kelly got me a Nick Cage octopus with octopus tentacles with Nick Cage's face on the bottom. If you're watching the video version, there you go. And Germ over there was nice enough to send me a copy of Bliss, which I watched and enjoyed, and we'll be talking about tonight briefly because Kelly had already done it on a previous episode, but I'm just going to throw my thoughts in on it. So that was very nice of them. And then through that snafu, you want to tell them what you did, Germ?
What did I do? Oh, I the last thing I sent through Amazon was the Bliss Blu-ray to Big Dog here for his birthday. And so last night or yesterday, I wanted to order myself some Bang energy drink. Bang! Yeah. And instead of checking the address where I was sending it to and sending it to myself like I should have, I accidentally sent it to the big man in charge, and he may or may not get a case of pomegranate sweet tea bang energy drink tomorrow. We'll see. If you do, enjoy. If you don't, I'll get my money back, and that'll be nice as well.
I mean, it'll be up in there. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm not going to be upset about it. I'll say that. That's at least the flavor I like, as opposed to, man, those guys are always putting out some real weird shit. Like, here's a cookies and cream energy drink, and here's birthday cake energy drink. Here's one that's called unicorn. It's like, the fuck is any of this?
Yeah, I don't even know. Like when it's unicorn birthday cake, fairy spray. I'm like, there's no other flavor, so I'm gonna try it. What is this flavor supposed to be?
Yeah, the things they name it are not flavors.
They're not. When
is not a flavor.
Creatures become flavors.
If you could eat a unicorn, believe me, I would have already tried it 37 different ways.
I'm sure it's magical.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right? If they made a Sasquatch flavor, Kelly would definitely just slip
I don't know, man. That might be kind of gross. Like, I'd have to find more out about the Sasquatch habitat.
Is this a grass
scavengers
Sasquatch?
I'm
not going to have a Sasquatch that's been eaten out of the dumpster at night.
Is this a free-range Sasquatch?
Is this a free-range Sasquatch?
She'll eat free. She eats it pinky up. But you know what? I bet you if you cook up unicorn meat, it steams rainbow.
That'd be amazing.
Just wafts up magic into your nose.
There's this rainbow and glitter. You take a bite, and there's just a xylophone noise. You know, I want to try penguin too. I bet you penguin on a pretzel bun would be
that's
delightful.
really good. Because like goose and duck's really good. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, that's
penguin's
one lazy
banging.
bird. You know, like they're just hobbling around with no knees. They're all fat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure they're very fatty. You know. Yeah.
It's not legal to eat a penguin, is it?
I wouldn't imagine so. I wouldn't think so. Maybe are they endangered?
I don't
I
know.
think so.
And they're endangered of being delicious. Ow!
They're in danger of going into my belly with a little bit of barbecue sauce. I'll tell you that.
Hell yeah, throw a little caviar on it because you know if you're like getting penguin, you're right there by the water. Might as well grab up some some fancy
Might
shit.
as
Grab a
well just
salmon
grab
and
some
harvest
caviar
it.
because caviar just floats down the road.
I mean, if
You
we're
know,
already
I could
We're already
run
on
around the
penguin.
tundra with a fucking net and catch me up some penguins. But I think caviar is a much, much, much more laborious process. So I think on my penguin sandwich, and this is just me talking to spitball in here, you can have it whatever way you want, Kelly. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but I'm going to get mine sans caviar, please.
Sans.
Sans
Just a little,
caviar.
just a little
Yes.
salt, a little pepper. You know, go easy on the seasoning. It'd be. I bet you it'd be delicious. Nice fatty bird.
Cook it like a
Yeah.
hot chicken sandwich.
Yeah,
Ooh, some seasoning and a pickle.
What we're talking about.
some breaded penguin.
Breaded penguin.
Well, now I'm going to do a whole lot of Googling when we're done with this episode. I'm pretty positive there's no way I'll ever be able to eat penguin, but I do know what I'm about to write my congressman about tonight.
Do.
But we got to take care of these lulls. There's penguin meat out there, this willy nilly. The seals could have it. No one's arresting the seals. No one's even arresting Seal the singer. Give me penguin.
Actually, you can eat penguins, but according to the 1959 Antarctic Treaty, the consumption of penguins is prohibited in most countries.
Huh.
There you go.
Most
you're
The
saying
Wizard
is-
of Pod has spoken.
Does it list what countries it's not illegal in?
I'll go back to you on that.
All right. We use our producer for good in this podcast, okay, guys?
Anyway, what movies? What are we doing this week? What?
Well, hold on. I wanted to talk about my big announcement that we
I'm
dropped
sorry.
today
I'm
for
sorry.
RPW. We have our first Japanese talent jumping on into the ring for us. We have Tajiriki Sakuda making his RPW debut January 20th. At this time, it's war. We found ourselves a much, much larger venue. This is a big, nice place, plenty of parking, big bar. We're going to have the kitchen up and running. The girl that's usually up there cooking all our good vittles will be up there cooking up her stuff. So I'm assuming by the time you hear this, front rows will be sold out because they sold out within almost an hour of announcing it. But we will have plenty of GAs because it seats a metric shit ton of people. So that's only the first announcement, and we have some big, big stuff getting announced as well. So keep an eye out on all our social medias for RPW. For this time, it's war. With that, let's talk movies.
Hell yeah.
Now that we got the announcement for something else that doesn't have to do with horror movies out of the way.
Hey, listen here. This is a shameless plug. You're posted about sexy Santas on the page. That has nothing to do about horror movies either. Okay, sir.
Actually, Santa has a lot to do with tonight's main movie. Not exactly sexy Santa if you think
Not
robots
really.
are sexy.
Well, Robot Santa, Terminator Santa.
If you think Terminator Santa is sexy, then tonight we've got the movie.
Yeah, when we go tobogganing into spoiler country, it's going to be Joe Bagos's Christmas, Bloody Christmas. But until then, let's talk about what we've been watching. Why don't you go first, Germ?
All right. I'm going to go first with a classic Christmas story of Who Slew Auntie Roo. This came out in 1972.
Yeah.
It was before there was even like an idea of Christmas horror being a subgenre. And it stars Shelley Winters, which, she was big back in the day, classically trained actress. But people are probably most well known, at least for our generation, is probably as the grandma or one of the grandmas on Roseanne. Do you remember her on Roseanne?
Yeah,
Yeah, Nana
absolutely.
Mary.
Man, was that
So
was that
but
Roseanne's mom or Dan's mom?
I think it's Dan's mom.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was Dan's mom.
okay.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting to see her, what in 1972 doing this like hag exploitation film. It's and it's a tale that's based off of like the Hansel and Gretel trope, two kids and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They basically portray her as the witch and she's eating children or whatever, but that's not the case. Uh, it starts out she's a rich ex actress and she has an estate, and every Christmas she invites the children from the local orphanage that are good to stay overnight at her place. They get to stay Christmas Eve and unwrap Christmas presents there and eat a Christmas feast there. Well, the little girl, one of the little girls, she thinks is her long since deceased daughter, and that come back to life, and decides to kidnap her. And since the little girl and her brother weren't supposed to be on the trip in the first place because they were naughty, they weren't supposed to be there, but they snuck away in the trunk of the car. Nobody really noticed that they were gone, and she convinced everybody that the children had ran away when really she had them locked away in a closet. Things go back and forth. There's some weird, creepy things. It has some. It's kind of uneven throughout, and then by the third act, I'm just feeling like I don't like any of these characters, and I just want to see them all die. None of them are sympathetic. None of them I care
Likeable.
about. I think it's worth watching just because it is a Christmas movie, and Shelley Winters is cool to watch. It's got that old school hag exploitation feel. At the same time, don't expect greatness. It's by the director Curtis Harrington, and he did a lot of like exploitation in the '60s and '70s. Night Tide, Queen of Blood, and Ruby are kind of what he's known for. So I would give it, I don't know, 3. I'm gonna be generous. I'll give it a 3. I'm not gonna be stingy with my stars.
I'd give it 2.5. It's good.
Oh,
I've been
you
less
checked it out
stingy.
then?
I
Oh
haven't
yeah,
seen
I've
it in
seen
a
it.
long
Yeah, yeah.
time, but yeah, I'd give it about 2.5 as well. From what I remember. I remember that one. It was good.
But it's nice to like think of it as a Christmas horror movie. You know what I mean?
I didn't even consider that when thinking of Christmas horror movies. I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that
mean,
one's a good one. I mean, it's not like one of my favorites or one of my go-tos. In fact, I didn't even think about it as a Christmas movie,
Hmm.
or I knew it was a Christmas movie, but like when I was thinking of outside the box Christmas movies,
Yeah.
of things to watch, it never even occurred to me. And I do have a copy downstairs, but it's a fun watch. It's a good watch to hit every couple years, not like an all the
Hmm.
time watch.
right, absolutely. Uh, and I'm not going to put it on the same level as it, but Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas, is kind of a slow burn, and it's kind of like an American giallo, actually Canadian giallo. Um, but I mean, this is kind of a slow burn. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So don't
definitely.
go in expecting Silent Night, Deadly Night, or even Christmas Evil. It's more of a beginner's horror film, if you know what I mean.
I've still never seen Christmas Evil. That's on the list for this year.
Yeah, it's highly enjoyable. I would definitely recommend that one. That was one of my favorites when I was a teenager, renting it, having friends over for Christmas time. That it was always Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Christmas
Hmm.
Evil. But
Right
yeah,
on.
that's my
Yeah.
first one for the night. Let's go. Let's keep the ball rolling. Let's keep the terror train going. What killer Kelly got?
All right. I watched 3 movies this week that 2 I've never seen before. One I have seen but didn't remember it at all. But we'll start with 2018, Await Further Instruction. This is a an English movie. It's on
I've been
Amazon
curious about
Prime.
that one.
It's
So
I
good.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's on Amazon Prime, AMC, Pluto, Tubi. Basically, family gets together for Christmas. It's the first time son's home in a while. They're really dysfunctional. It's your average Christmas. He brings home a girlfriend. She's an Indian girl, and the family's kind of racist. They've got their drama going on, and then out of nowhere, the house gets filled up with this like weird like a black like substance thing. I'm not gonna go too far into it because that's part of like the whole mystery of the thing. But basically, I mean, this to the family questioning each other, a lot of paranoia, a lot of fighting amongst the family, like nobody knows like who to trust, or the dad's thinking it's like God. The screen starts showing these instructions. Like it for the first one just says stay indoors and await further instruction. And then they're all like, what the fuck? What the fuck? We can't get out. And like more and more instructions appear on the screen, and it's all in this like old vintage like fonts, like on the original computers. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah. Or like old like 8-bit fonts. Yeah. But it's they start fighting amongst themselves. Some like syringes fall out of the thing, and the dead like it kind of goes into something like about people blindly following orders without knowing shit about it. Because the dad's like, oh, it came to us. We should take whatever's in this. And of course, people start dying different ways. I don't want to tell you too much, but I really enjoyed this one. I'd give it a 3.5 or a 4. It is. It's basically about the dynamic of the family, of them like being paranoid and like wanting to kill each other, and like who do I trust, or what's going on outside? Is this God? Is this the government? Is it terrorists? Aliens? Like they really do have you questioning throughout the entire movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I remember when I originally saw Wait Further Instructions, it was at the Cinepocalypse Film Festival that year that it came out, and the filmmakers were there, and it was really interesting to see it, not knowing anything about it going in, not knowing
Yeah.
that it takes place on Christmas, or that it was going to be this really weird genre mashup that incorporates everything from Lovecraftian mythos to Cronenberg to it's body
Mm-hmm.
horror. And
Yeah,
then
it
you
did
even
have some
have like
body horror.
elements of Japanese like techno fear with the television and stuff talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of brilliant, and I kind of love that movie, and I love it even more being that it takes place on Christmas
It
and it's
does
got the
take.
whole family there.
Yep.
It's so smart, so well done.
It's even kind of got like a cube feel to it in a way too, just
Yeah,
them like not being able to get out and questioning what the fuck is going on. And I don't know. I really enjoyed it as well.
yeah, and
I'd give
that
it a 4.
that feeling of paranoia and
Yeah.
claustrophobia is
Yes.
just
Claustrophobia for sure.
brilliant.
For a place that takes place in one building, like the entire movie just takes place in the one house, it is. It's quite brilliant. Chris, what do you got this week?
So I'm going to talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Intentions, 1990, Brian Usna. The reason I want to talk about this is the first one of these Silent Night, Deadly Night movies that ceases to be a Silent Night, Deadly Night movie, that just kind of slapped that name on it. Uh, this is a very weird movie, very weird. It falls like it is a Christmas movie. It takes place on Christmas or around Christmas, even though it's hard to tell because I think it takes place in California, so everyone's like in sundresses and all that. Like it's not the you don't get like the Christmas trees and the carols and like any of the decorations. Like every once in a while you might see a tree in the background or they might mention Christmas. But like unlike the other three Silent Night Deadly Nights, you don't have Santa with an axe or anything like that. This one's more body horror and insects and weirdness. I am a big fan of Brian Usna. I think he's a very underrated director. He made both the Reanimator sequels. He made the third Return of the Living Dead, Society, bunch of great movies.
Progeny.
Progeny.
Yeah.
Um, And one of the things I realized watching this is that he's kind of like an unsung hero of body horror. Like when he goes like off the deep end, when he goes up like with stuff like this and Society, his stuff's up there. If just as gross as Cronenberg, and Society gets even grosser, in my opinion. So this actually falls under that. You have a reporter who's trying to find out the case of why this woman half spontaneously combusted and fell off a roof. And the only witness she had was Clint Howard. So he's a major star or a major role in this thing. So anytime Clint Howard's in anything, it instantly becomes way more watchable to me. For some reason, I love that little fucking weirdo. And he's super weird in this. This was off the heels of Society, and the storyline kind of feels mildly similar in parts. They just added it to Shudder. It is a really weird watch. It's very goopy, extremely gory. Like I said, with the body horror, there's like people's like fingers are growing and things are getting all bendy. There's like very large insects that get involved in this thing that are all slimy. This is like a weird, gross movie. And it's one of those ones I think a lot of people have overlooked watching because they think it's just like, you know, how far can they go with Silent Night, Deadly Night? Well, this isn't really, aside from in name, a Silent Night, Deadly Night movie. You know, it's a weird, crazy Christmas body horror movie and psychological thriller. With that being said, you know, like I highly recommend this one. This is such a fun watch. And Brian Usda, like in his prime, and this is like right in his prime, gives you some of the goopiest, weirdest special effects you could ask for. And it's one of those movies that you can put on with like a group of friends. And if they hadn't seen it before, everybody's just going to be saying, what the fuck half the time. Just like, what in the fuck? So yeah, this is my Christmas suggestion of the week. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. I give it 3.5. It's on Shudder right now to stream, so definitely check that sucker out.
Yeah, I'm excited to see they're giving the part 3, 4, and 5 the old Vestron Collector's Edition Blu-ray treatment coming up. Yeah, I'm very excited for that because you know I love the original Silent Night, Deadly Night. I'm not a fan of 2 at all, but 3, 4, and 5. Those are, you know, those are so weird and so great. I just love them. So to see that they're finally getting that Vestron Collector's Edition Blu-ray out, I'm excited for that. That's going to be so cool, and I'm glad that they are on Shudder, that they are readily available now. Because I bought them on DVD because I'd never seen them. It was probably 5-6 years ago, and the rhythm guitarist in my old band, Modern Day Rippers, he was like, "Yeah, you would love Silent Night, Deadly Night 5," and I was just like, okay, sure. He's like, "No, I know your taste in movies. You would love this movie." You know, it's got what's his name? Mickey Rooney as a toy maker, and the toys come to life and blah blah blah. It's weird and campy. And of course I bought it. I love 4 and I love 5. 3's okay, but 4 and 5. Chef's kiss.
I liked 3 because it had the brain dome for no reason.
Yeah.
It had Bill Moseley with a glass jar over his head, and you could just see his brain for no reason. So he's still Santa, or you know, Ricky dresses. Is he Ricky in that, or is he just another Santa killer? I think he's still Ricky, right?
I'd have to revisit it to make sure, but I think so.
But yeah, actually, I was telling these guys right when I get done recording, I'm firing up Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 for a watch because I actually haven't seen any of the Silent Night, Deadly Nights besides 1 since VHS days. I used to have a massive VHS collection, and I haven't been able to, or I haven't had the DVDs or anything of the other 4 aside from the first one to revisit, you know. So when I saw it pop up there, and I remembered, I even pitched this as an episode just because I knew how weird it'd be to talk about. But when I saw it up there, I was like, God damn, I remember that being a really fucking weird movie. Got to check it out.
Very cool. Very exciting.
On to you, Mr. Rips.
Oh, back to me?
Okay. Volleyed it on back to you.
Blah, blah, blah. Pass me the ball. I got the mic. Ready to go. Yeah, the next one I'm going to go with is during the mid 2000s was that French extreme movement. I think they referred to it as New French Extremity.
Mhm.
And during that time period, director Alexandra Bustillo came out with a film called Inside.
Oh
And
man, that movie fucked me up.
right, um, I barely remembered that it took place on Christmas, but once I did, I had to revisit it, and it is a lot more brutal than I remember it. It is an extreme. It is perfect for that time period, perfect for that movement because it is an extreme movie, and I don't say that lightly, because I'm not one to shy away from gore or violence. But when it is about a young woman who is pregnant, gets into a bad car accident, and on Christmas Eve, and next thing you know, there's a woman at her door stalking her, running around, and it's hard to look at violence, man. It's just like it's bloody and stabby and over the top brutality.
It's just
Um,
nasty
yes,
in its
yeah,
presentation. It's just visceral and nasty. Like it doesn't glamorize it, and it doesn't make it fun. It makes it like really wrenching to watch.
yes, it's hard to watch. And
Yes.
I think that I think I love that about it. You know what I mean? It's not one of those movies where you're gonna invite your friends over and be like, "Oh my God, guys, you got to see this." It's so much. No, no, this is when you watch on your own, pretty much, or with the ones you love, I guess, close by your side. Um, there were points that I think were kind of funny, because there are cops they're stopping by to check on her towards the end of the night, and they've got like an offender in the back seat, and the guy just brings him in with him after he hears gunshots. I'm like, no, I don't think that's how it would go at all.
We need
Um,
them for the body count.
yeah, yeah, and it was the body count was brutal. Everything about it. I can't say like I should have a thesaurus out right now so I can look up other words to use instead of brutal over and over again. But that's like the only term I think suitably fits the violence and gore because it's like you said, it's not like in movies like Terrifier where it's so over the top that it's kind of laughable. It is realistic, and psychopaths out there are like this, and the not to totally ruin it, but the killer turns out to be the nurse from the hospital, and she lost her baby from the car accident, and now she wants this girl's baby, and the rest of the movie is just the nurse from the hospital trying to cut this baby out of the woman's womb. And
Yeah, she shows up with a large pair of scissors to collect her now missing child.
Oh,
and
shit.
multiple times you see those scissors like shoved into people's heads and eye sockets, and yeah, everything. Oh my god, it's so brutal. I love it, but I probably couldn't watch it. There would be another one where we're not watching it every year. I'm just trying to
What
look
year did you
for
say this was?
it's 2007.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I have a
So
copy
I
if you
mean, it
want
was
to
right
borrow it,
during that
Kelly.
movement.
Yeah, yeah.
We got High Tension and Frontiers, and
Yeah.
uh,
I remember this was the second one of those French extremity movies I saw. Like High Tension was the first one, and I was like, wow, they're really doing something out there in France. So I started like checking out, and this was the second one I watched, and I to this day remember that viewing because I remember it just being such a visceral experience. I own it. I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
I am going to revisit it because it is a fucking phenomenal movie, but it's one of those things where it is such a intense experience where it sticks with you for a very long time. Like it's nasty and mean, and like there's nothing really redeeming about it besides it being well made and entertaining in a very wrong way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
right. I think referring to it as mean or mean spirited is a good interpretation and a good description of it. And I like that it isn't a long movie either. You know what I mean? You're not going to be sitting through this brutality over and over. It isn't too long, and it gets its point across, and it's hard to watch. Just because it does stick with you, it does stick with anybody who watches it, and it deals with a woman psychopath and a female protagonist and a female antagonist in this film. I think it makes it very unique. And that your protagonist is pregnant and it takes place on Christmas. There's so many very unique twists to this. I got to give it 4 stars. For the blood, for the gore, the brutality, the way that you watch it and you just can't scrub it from your brain.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll totally borrow that from you, Chris.
When I see you tomorrow, just remind me. I'll give it to you.
Sounds good. All right. My next movie is the one that I thought I seen before. I didn't remember anything about it. This is Wind Chill from 2007.
I love this movie. I talked about it on an episode already. I love this movie.
Did you? Was it one of the last year's probably?
Yeah, it was one of the early ones. But yeah, go on. It's a great movie.
Yeah. Basically, girl. And what I found interesting about this, actually, when I was looking up like who was in it and everything, the main girl and the main guy, they never say their name in the movie.
They don't have names.
And I didn't realize that
girl, girl, boy.
Yep, Emily Blunt plays girl, and then the other character is boy. Because I was like, what were their names? But when I look, even if you look at IMDb, it just says girl and guy. You know. But anyway, girl, she's in college. She needs a ride back to Delaware because it's Christmas and she wants to see her family for the holidays. This is her first time she hasn't flown in a while, and now she's looking for a ride. Somebody suggests she goes to the student ride board and she finds somebody that gives her, somebody from one of her classes that's like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to Delaware. So, she gets in the car and goes with him. Right off the rip, you can tell that there's something kind of off about this guy and he might have some other motives. So like, instead of taking the highway, he pulls off to take a scenic route. They get stuck in the snow. Well, there's a huge winter storm coming in. They're stuck in a snowbank. And while in the car, there's seems like there's a bunch of hauntings and there's all these apparitions and stuff that are approaching the car. Yeah, I liked this movie too. It was all right. I didn't remember it at all, and I know I've seen it, and what I thought was actually going on in this movie, it was not that. So I was kind of relieved by that. Like I was like, without saying too much, but yeah.
The other cool thing, not to interrupt you, the other cool thing I really liked about it is they start like kind of feeding you this thing where maybe this guy isn't what he says he is. You start getting a sense of dread before anything bad happens too. I thought that was really cool too. But go ahead.
It was. That guy does give you like right off the rip, he starts giving you some like weird EBGBs, and you're like, this ain't gonna turn out right.
I believe the comment is, why aren't you wearing your glasses? You look better in glasses. And she's like, this is a ride share. How do you know how the fuck I look like in glasses?
Yeah, she's like, I've never wore them to class before. How have you ever seen me in glasses? And he's just like, oh, I just, I just imagined it, or some fucking creepy line like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, for 2007, the ghosts and shit weren't as top of the line, but they did really good. Again, for another movie that takes place in one area, which this is just in that car and like the woods surrounding the car a bit. It was pretty good. I didn't hate it. I'd probably give it about a 3.
I liked it a little more than you did. I'm not sure what rating I gave it when I talked about it, but I think I did more of like a 3.5 on that one.
Yeah, they do
very
really
cool.
good. What? I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I don't think I've ever seen it, so I'll have to look it up. What is it streaming on?
Tubi and Crackle.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I think did Arrow put that out on Blu-ray too?
I don't know.
I know there is a Blu-ray. I'm not sure if it's Arrow or Synapse.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll have to look into it. Yeah, it definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah,
it definitely feels more like an Arrow movie though.
And I love anything that takes place on Christmas and isn't a traditional Christmas film. Although I do love traditional Christmas films too, but horror themed Christmas films. So
absolutely.
I'll have to look it up.
I mean, it goes into like the kids being stuck in the snow. So you get that sense of, they're trapped, the claustrophobia. Well, at the same time, there's like some paranormal shit going on. And it also has you questioning like this boy's motives. So there's like 3 possible scenarios, that keep you guessing throughout it. And it was pretty decent. I didn't hate it one bit.
Very cool.
All right. So for mine, next week we're going to be doing our top 10 movies of the year. So I have been kind of keeping my ear to the ground and like movies people have really enjoyed that I may have missed, like, I'll make it a point to try to kind of make up or catch up before I do my year end list in case there was something I missed I would have really enjoyed.
Now, these are all movies that came out this year, right? Or just movies we watched?
Yes, our
Just
favorite
making
movies
sure.
this year. Okay. So this one's called Resurrection. It stars Tim Roth and Rebecca Hall. Rebecca Hall, I really enjoyed her in The Night House.
Yes.
And this is directed by Andrew Siemens. I watched this on Shudder. The cover makes it look like it's just going to be kind of like a really run-of-the-mill thriller, and even like the setup is mildly like that. In fact, it doesn't really turn into a full horror movie until the final act or like the last half of this movie. This is a very slow burn. It's wound tight as a drum. I mean, it's one of those things where like the tension is just oozing out of this thing, and the music really gives it a good sting in that too. And the cinematography, like they definitely made it a point to have like beautiful shots and landscapes and stuff in this thing. But the setup is you have a single mom. She's a businesswoman. I don't think it ever really goes into like she's an office woman. I'm not really sure it ever really goes into what her job is. But she goes to a conference and she looks over and she sees a man, and it's Tim Roth. And the second she sees it, she loses her shit. Like just like fucking panic attack, freaks out and storms the fuck out. So everyone's like, what the fuck? What's wrong with this? And then he starts like popping up all the time. You come to find out, and this isn't like really ruining anything because it kind of gives you this in the trailer, and I'm not going to tell you where it goes. You come to find out that at one point he was a much older man that had a relationship with her, and he would ask her for these things called kindnesses, and if she did kindnesses for him, he would reward her. And the kindnesses started out very small, like take my boots off, do the dishes, stuff like that. And then it started beginning to be more fucked up and violent, like like stand in this pose for 10 hours and don't move. And if you don't do it, you burn yourself a cigarette butt, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of how to talk about this without fucking up where it goes. So you get the idea that they had a child together and something happened to that child. And there is a 4.5 minute no cut monologue that Rebecca Hall delivers into the camera. Like that is just fucking phenomenal. Some of the best acting I've seen this year. And she describes what happened with this man, what happened with their baby, and why she's flipping out that now he's like around. And so she finally walks up and confronts him. And I'm just going to give you this one tidbit as a hook to get you into this movie because it's not really ruining too much. He looks at her. He's like, no, the baby's still around. It's right here in my belly. Can't you hear him? And from then it just spirals into like crazy darkness. Like this movie is real fucked up. It's one of those ones that it's I'll probably never watch again because it's a one watcher, like it won't have the same punch knowing where it goes the second time around, unless I was like doing it to pick up on maybe some nuances or something I missed. This movie kind of fucked my night up when I watched it. I was actually house sitting for Kelly. Her and her boyfriend went to
just stayed at a hotel. Like
they had themselves a fun night, and I went and brought my dog over, watch the dogs, watch the movies. And this was like one of the second movies I watched. And like I was just like, ooh, if I even messaged these guys, I was like, that one was a heavy watch, man. The acting in this thing is phenomenal. like utterly phenomenal. Rebecca Hall, like this is the second movie I could think of right off the cuff I've seen her in. The other one being The Night House, where she just is dropping these awesome horror performances. Um, I highly recommend watching it. It's not going to make my best of the year list. It'll probably be in like my honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let the cover of this thing or the generic name fool you. This is definitely it's 2 hours. It's a slow burn, but it's definitely worth the time because when that slow burn finally catches fire, you're staring at the fucking screen with your jaw on the floor, like holy fucking shit. So I'd give this thing 4.5 even. Resurrection. It's on Shudder. Definitely go check it. I think it's also on Tubi too. Go
Yeah, I've
check it
seen
out.
it. Might be Prime or something because it's on my watch list. I've passed that thing up a couple times. When you sent me the cover, I was like,
The cover sucks.
yeah. I don't know. I kind of like it.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad design, but it is
Yeah.
for a horror movie. It looks like something
Yeah.
that would be like
a book
we
cover.
were talking with like a yuppie terror movie, like Pacific Heights or like Cape Fear or something like that, to where it's like more suburban terror than like a full on horror movie. But when it goes horror, like there's no doubt about it, this is a full on fucking horror movie.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Resurrection, definitely check it out. Definitely worth watching once. But with that being said, this like inside was also nasty and mean and unapologetic, and it made me feel real gross after I got done watching it. But it was fucking awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
that sounds amazing. Yeah, I've got to check that out. Very, very cool. I think it's my turn again. Are we back around to me?
Definitely you.
Well, all right. Well, I'm going to talk about a movie that's not necessarily 100% horror, but I loved it so much, and it is a Christmas themed movie. So I saw Violent Night in the theater, and I never go to movies on opening night, never. And this was one that me and my husband went to, and we both loved it. It's just so much fun. So Santa's getting a little disillusioned. He's a drinker and he's just sort of like going through the motions. He's sick of being Santa. He's sick of Christmas. I mean, the movie starts with him in a bar, like just having a few cocktails, and I forget. He says something that makes like the bartender and the people in there think, "Oh, is this the real Santa?" He's walking up to the roof to meet up with his reindeer, and before he flies away, the bartender chases him up, and they're talking, and he pukes on her. That's how the movie starts. Is Santa Claus puking on this poor bartender, and she's not even mad about it. She's like, okay, Santa Claus freaking puked on me, and she's sort of happy about it. She's just like happy she met Santa Claus, but he flies away, and then next thing it cuts to this like absurdly rich family and how they're getting together to celebrate Christmas, but at the same time they're all like backstabbing each other to try and get to mom's fortune, and but the little girl is like she still believes in Santa Claus, and there's still Christmas magic about her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since they're an absurdly rich family, there's also this turns into a heist movie, and this like organization of thieves infiltrates their family gathering, and next thing you know, the house is in lockdown and people are getting shot, and everybody's now going to be hostages. And the head of the mob is played by John Leguizamo, and he based his character off of Jean-Claude Van Damme, but not like Jean, you know what I'm saying?
Van Clam.
Van Clam.
Not in his
John
prime.
Dog Van Clam.
Yes, that guy. Thank you. But
I
not
love
in
me
his
a
prime,
John Dog Van Clam
but like
movie.
as he is now, and just kind of like with that paper thin mustache and goatee and kind of loudmouth. But anyways, he does a great job in his role. And once the whole family is hostages, the little girl has like a little walkie-talkie, and she starts talking on it, trying to get somebody to come help them. And she gets a hold of Santa Claus, and he just happens to be around. And Next thing we learn is that Santa Claus is an old school Viking and he knows how to fight and he
I can see
likes to
that.
fight. And, it restores his faith in Christmas is that he's going to chop up some bad guys. And it's across the board. It's a comedy, it's drama, it's fantasy. And the level of brutality and gore that there is in the fight scenes, it is definitely horror adjacent. Um, because there is a scene with a snowblower that is almost close to the lawnmower scene in Dead Alive. That I was just like, as soon as the camera panned across the snowblower, I was like, oh shit, I know
Oh,
what's
shit.
coming next. This is going to be good. So, yeah, I mean, it's got a little something for everybody. But it's definitely a great genre film. And David Harbour from Stranger Things. He plays a fantastic Santa Claus. Uh, Santa Claus, the Viking, like freaking destroyer of worlds, and he just loves to fight, and it's great to see. But it's funny because he doesn't understand how Christmas magic works. Because he's just like, yeah, I got some flying reindeer. I don't know how they fly or how I touch the side of my nose and I can fly up a chimney. I don't understand it, but it happens. It's amazing. It's funny, gory, just
You
brilliant.
want to know how I know Santa's a badass?
What's that?
He's got a street name. His name's Kris Kringle, but everyone knows him as Santa Claus. He's got a street name, kid. An
a
alien.
lot of,
He's got
a lot of
straight name,
names. Yeah, when you
kid.
got that many aliases,
That means you're putting work in these streets.
absolutely, absolutely. And an interesting fact: the director. I found out the director, besides making this, made Dead Snow 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
And I'm just like, holy shit. No wonder this movie is so
that's the Nazi
good.
one, isn't it? Dead
What's
Snow.
that?
Yeah, Nazi
Yeah, that's
zombies.
the Nazi one. Okay, yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
that.
and I love those movies.
Yeah. Those are fun.
Yeah. So I mean, I gave this a 5 just because it's so fun, and I love that with the soundtrack they didn't go with anything like they could have put in some like heavy metal, they could have put in some gangster rap or something to give it a harder edge, but instead they opted for traditional orchestral scores and like traditional Christmas music.
I love
And
it.
I thought that kept it like whimsical, like I was saying on the last week's. To make a good holiday movie, it doesn't matter what genre it is, but to make it a good holiday movie, you gotta have whimsy and you gotta have magic. And Violent Night has that magic of like you gotta believe in Santa Claus. And there's a scene pretty similar to what I just said. You gotta believe in Santa Claus, and it's just a great film. I give it a 5 just because I love Christmas. I'm a Christmas fanatic, and to have a violent, gory, action-packed thriller comedy with lots of gore, it was right up my alley. So yeah, 5 stars. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it.
Hell yeah.
I'm definitely gonna go check it out this week. I want to catch that one in theaters because, like, you guys know I'm a big fan for like just action movies too. Like, give me a popcorn action flick. Let me turn my brain off. Like you and I, Germ, were gushing about Bullet Train in a conversation, like just how much fun that was. So I really want to catch this in the theaters because this seems like it would just be a fun watch in that environment as opposed to on a little screen.
I'll go with you.
Did
We can go.
Let's
Did
go.
you ever see that? I think it's on Shutter, or it used to be on Shutter. I think it's called like Dial S for Santa Claus or Dial Santa Claus. It's like a German film, I think.
No.
It's
No.
very similar to that. It doesn't help, but yeah, it's strongly influenced by Die Hard. It's strongly influenced by Home Alone, and it even mentions both movies. So it wears its influences on its sleeve. But yeah, it's a new Christmas classic. I would definitely do a double feature with that and Fat Man with Mel Gibson.
I was gonna ask you how it stacked up against Fat Man.
They're very, very similar.
I liked
Very
Fat
similar.
Man.
Fat
Fat
Man
Man
was
was
fun.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
And the
Fat
fact
Man.
that it was Mel Gibson makes it
Yeah, I
even
know.
funnier.
Mel Gibson as an assassin Santa Claus.
and that they play it completely straight is what makes it so brilliant.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
love it when you have a ridiculous concept and you just play it straight faced as shit. Like that's
Okay.
why, like the Weird Al movie. I keep bringing it up, but it was the most ridiculous fucking movie, and they played it so goddamn straight faced, and it was like,
It was a funny one.
Absolutely.
spoiler alert: Weird Al Yankovic movie was one of my favorites this year, but will not be on my top 10 list because it was not horror.
Oh, so we can only do horror. Like our top. This is next week is gonna be our top 10 horror, specifically horror
movies.
films.
Correct.
Okay.
We make the rules as we go here.
Here's the
Good to
cuff.
know.
It's coming off it. Back to
All
that
right.
cuff.
Well, my next movie came out in 2018. This one's on Tubi. Knuckleball. This one wasn't probably my least favorite of the three that I watched this week. It stars Michael Ironside, though. He plays the grandpa.
I love me some Michael Ironside. Not for the same reason that Germ does, but I love me some Michael Ironside.
Yeah, he plays a grandpa in this. So, this follows a 12-year-old boy. He's sent to stay with his estranged grandpa that he hasn't seen in some years. Like, right away, you find out that his mom has had some bad memories there and has kept away for a long time. Well, the boy's parents have a funeral they need to go to, so the kid's got to stay somewhere. This doesn't take place on Christmas or anything, but this is another cold one. Doesn't take place in the winter, so whatever. He goes and stays on this farm with his grandpa. He's got this really weird neighbor named Dixon that's just like kind of creeps you out. He notices like the boy. When he finds out the boy's there, he instantly wants to go take him and show him things around the grounds. And the grandpa's like, you can tell like that he's trying to keep them away. I don't know. This one's all right. It's more of a psychological thriller. I feel like the build up didn't really go anywhere. It was kind of anticlimactic, kind of slow. It was all right. A decent storyline. I wouldn't exactly call it horror that much. It was definitely more of a thriller, but it is listed as horror on there. But grandpa's like starts pitching baseball with the kid, and the different types of pitches. The knuckleball definitely kind of comes into play somewhere in the story.
Well, it's the titular line.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was okay. It was slow, kind of didn't keep my interest as much as I like. And I don't know, but it was all right. I didn't hate it. I'd probably give it about a 2.5.
What year did you say it came out?
2018.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was predictable, but it wasn't a terrible like family story, family dynamic at all. There was definitely some shady shit going on his grandpa's farm, obviously, but it was okay.
And is this streaming anywhere?
Tubi. I seen it on Tubi. Yep.
That should be a shirt. That just says, "I seen it on Tubi."
Yeah, I see it.
Maybe it could say "real vile" across the top, and then have some sort of messed up monsters and killers in the middle.
I like it.
And then across the bottom, just be like, "I seen it on Tubi."
We did do an episode called "To Be or Not to Be."
Yeah,
where we did nothing but movies we found on Tubi, because we love Tubi here.
Yeah,
it's like one of the best streaming service, and it doesn't cost a dime.
And speaking of shirts, Chris is wearing one of our shirts. I'm surprised I didn't wear mine, as well as our hat, which you can find in our store in the link.
Styling and profiling. You can be just like Chris.
Order that hat is cozy as hell too. I'm gonna have to get me one.
Yeah, she tried taking it from me. She came to give it to me wearing it. So
wait, she was wearing the shirt and then she gave it to you? She gave you
the hat.
I know, I'm kidding. LOL, JK, winking smiley face, winking smiley face. That's a little Gen Z language for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Knuckleball, I don't know. Take it or it was okay. It's worth a watch, but nothing I'd write home about. Not a Christmas movie.
I might check it out just for Michael Ironside.
Yeah.
All right, for my last one, as I mentioned earlier, Germ here was nice enough to send me a copy of Bliss, which is now was at the time the only Joe Bagos movie I have not seen. And now I can confirm that in my eyes, Joe Bagos has not made a single bad movie. This being one of his better ones. I loved every minute of this thing. Kelly's been trying to get me to watch this for a very long time. And
I've
I've been
talked
meaning
about
to.
this. I've talked about this on From the Mouths of Madness too. Yeah,
I'm aware.
I've been trying to get you to watch this for like 2 years. Thank you, Germ.
No problemo.
One of the things I noticed watching this and Christmas Bloody Christmas, which we'll talk about shortly. The way this man uses lighting, he gets a lot out of making his sets look good by using great and crazy lighting. Like he's almost does like his own form of like giallo lighting, you know, where it's intense and it's like bright reds and blues and greens and, you know, like
magentas for sure.
I think like a lot of what makes his movies not feel as cheap as they are, because this guy makes movies for nothing, like really for nothing, and they all turn out great. But one of the things I think that makes them look as good as they do is that he takes that time to put this great lighting in. And one of the other things I've noticed, especially in this and Christmas Bloody Christmas, is he gets really good acting, like good performances out of his actors. Shockingly good for how low budget they are. I had a blast with this movie. I watched it the other night, and I plan on watching it again probably this week if I have time, because I do want to catch up on some of the movies I did miss this year for our top 10 list. See if there's anything I mulled over I shouldn't have. But you know, Kelly had already talked about this, so I'm not really going to go too far into what it's about. You know, it's the modern day vampire story. It's got its own twist that revolves heavily around art and addiction. This one kind of goes a little into body horror as well. It's extremely gory. It's you know, in the pantheon of Bagos movies, and he doesn't have a lot. But what I like about Bagos is it seems like he picks like a specific corner of the genre and then just nails it. Like with Mind's Eye, it was like, I want to do my own Scanners type movie. With Almost Human, it's like, I want to do an alien movie like The Thing. You know, VFW was, you know, your siege survival horror, and Christmas Bloody Christmas, Terminator Christmas movie. With this, you know, it was like, I want my own spin on vampires, and I want it to be, you know, allegory for art and all this other stuff. I loved it. I couldn't recommend it enough. This is it's not my favorite Bagos movie. Mind's Eye will always take that for me, because I am a huge Scanners mark, and not enough people make exploding head movies and stuff like that. And that was actually my introduction to this man. Was Kelly and I used to have a hustle. Well, it would start as my hustle. I taught her the ways of the hustle. But back when family videos were still around, when they sold movies, they would just stick a sticker on the box. And I would just peel a sticker off of one box and find a movie I wanted and slap it on that box. So I was getting whatever the fuck movies I wanted. For a while there wasn't anything good that came out that I didn't own because of this shit. So this Mind's Eye was one of those movies I got that way. And I never really knew what I was going into. I thought it had a cool cover. It was another horror movie. I got it for $1.99, watched it. And then that led me on to checking out Almost Human, which I loved as well. And then, you know, on to VFW, Bliss, all that. Love this movie. Probably one of my favorites. It's not my favorite. Mind's Eye is going to keep that mantle, but definitely check out Bliss. I give this one 4.5. Real cool. Good stuff. Joel Bagos is definitely someone to watch. He doesn't make boring movies. I'll give him that. I'll just say that. Like, if you like genre and you like horror, he doesn't make boring movies. Everything has a good reason to watch it and check it out. So definitely with that, tagging out.
Yeah, I'd give this one a 5. Like, this might be in my top. It definitely is in my top favorite vampire movies I've ever seen. And with the art element and the lighting, with that, kind of gives it that like hallucinogenic effect. I fucking love it. The camera angles, the spinning, Like, especially like the sense of like motion sickness in that movie. I love it. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah,
Yep.
the combination of high art meets lowbrow exploitation was
Yeah.
phenomenal, and the things that Joe Bagos does with the budget he has is also amazing. You know, he's always incorporated a great team of everybody in front of the camera and everybody in back of the camera too, because longtime collaborator Josh, uh, Josh Ether, he usually always has a cameo in his movies, but he's also a producer on all of his films and part of the Channel 83 team, which is their production company. You might have noticed him. He's usually the really tall, shaved head guy with a big bushy beard. Um, and then also there's usually always good cameos. You know, George Wendt is in Bliss, if I remember correctly. George Wendt is in VFW, and just the things he does is so subversive and so smart. And yeah, like I was saying, it's highbrow art meets lowbrow exploitation, and just the combination of the two things make it so endearing, and it's hard not to love the work he does. He puts so much effort into it.
And not only that, not to cut you off, I'm sorry. One of the things I noticed about him is when he does do something, it doesn't feel like he's ripping it off as much as he's paying a loving tribute to it.
Yeah, absolutely. He does that, and you to be along for the ride. You know, it's not boring ever. And this was actually the movie that introduced me to his work was Bliss. I was at the Cinepocalypse Film Festival once again, and I was friends with producer Heather Buckley, and she introduced me to him and Josh Ether, and nice guys, very personable, very approachable. Um, uh, he he looks like a nut job. He kind of looks like a homeless Charles Manson type guy, but as a filmmaker, he's a genius. And I think he's one of the brightest filmmakers going in genre film right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely give it about a 4.5 as well.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about his Christmas movie now.
Do you got another one, Germ, or are we into Spoiler Town?
We're into Spoiler Town, baby.
Yeah.
That was it. Violent Night was my last one.
Absolutely.
I also watched I watched Stir of Echoes and Stigmata this week, because you know how movies just play on Tubi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't change them, but I haven't seen either of those in so long. And an honorable mention this week. They're both good.
Is Stir of Echoes the Kevin Bacon ghost one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
With the girl. Yeah. They're both good. I'd give them both 3s, honestly. At least 3.5s.
I actually have been having like a strong hankering to like go and revisit all those like really weird movies towards the end of when they stop giving like horror movies big budgets, like that Schwarzenegger movie End of Days, and like you said, Stigmata, and like all those like really Constantine things like that. For some reason I've just had like a draw to like recheck out those. I watched Valentine the other day.
I watched that last.
It was good.
It was good. That's what I said when I reviewed it on the podcast last February. I was like, that was better than it fucking. I remembered it.
I remembered it being a cheap like ripoff of I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it had so much more going for it. It was actually like a really well made, cool movie.
Yeah, but
all right. Well, we're gonna talk about back to Joe Bagos. Christmas Bloody Christmas is brand new one that is a Shudder exclusive that dropped as of this record. 4 days ago, 4 or 5 days ago.
And now for our feature presentation.
All right.
Yeah, it's an incredible film, and it's perfect. It's perfect to be coming out right in time for Christmas and to be streaming. You know what I mean? Because unlike Violent Night, you gotta go to the theater to see it, and some people don't have the time or energy to make it to the theater. But being, we're all fans of Joe Bagos' work. To one, know that he was the filmmaker behind this, and then two, to be making such a subversive take on a Christmas film
Yeah.
and it going to be streaming on Shudder was a great present. It was a great Christmas gift from the team at Channel 83 Films, from Shudder, from
Yeah.
AMC Plus to genre film fans, to get a film as dirty, as filthy as Christmas Bloody Christmas is, because
It's
it's
fun
got
and
everything you
energetic.
love from
Yeah.
Bliss. The lighting, the
Mhm.
violence, the gore, and then just throws it in a blender. And it's not straight horror, because the Killer Santa is a robot. It was developed for the military, and then the military decided not to use these robots, and then they started using them in toy stores. I was
It
like,
was like Santa kiosks.
yeah, you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
logic. You don't need logic. You just need to make this movie.
And they really didn't talk about that much at all because I pretty much missed that whole point there because I was like, why
There's
are these Santas talking?
in the beginning,
Yeah.
in the beginning, right when it starts,
Or
they go
killing,
through a
not
couple
talking.
like fake commercials, and then it like
I
cuts to
remember.
like a news thing that gives like you like a quick exposition dump on it.
Ah, shit.
Yeah.
See, I was like half paying. I was like getting settled in and still kind of talking, and like I missed that part. I was like, you know what? I don't need an explanation. That's fine. Santa, like fucking
It was
Santa's
it was only there to make a little like this was definitely a throwback to late 80s, early 90s movies. The ones I picked out the most: Silent Night, Deadly Night, The Terminator, and Hardware.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
the final battle reeked of Hardware. And
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
Richard Stanley's Hardware. I fucking love that movie. I think it's so underrated. Love, love, love me some Hardware. And like the final battle in this thing was so Hardware, and I loved every bit of that.
No, I had a question. Me and Ethan watched this. He's like, "Why is he trying to kill that girl?" And I was like, "Because she's the only survivor, and he can't let anybody get away." Like, do you know why? Well, she wasn't like a specific target, so I really do think he was just trying to.
Why
kill
did he kill anybody?
Well, I know, but it seemed like he was specifically chasing
No.
after this main girl. Yeah, and that's what he said. And I was like, "No, I think that he's just like
She was a
killing every-
target, and he was
and
following her along, which led to other victims along the way, and
Yeah.
he just didn't give up on her.
Yeah,
I
great.
really enjoyed her in this movie.
Yeah.
Not only was she a great actress, but damn, was she not into like everything I'm into as a person. She had a cephalic carnage
I
patch
see that
on her
Yeah.
shoulder.
Uh-huh.
She was like even in her music store, like half the vinyls I have up here, like in display cases, like all this like weird like black and death metal shit I listen to and all that. And then like the whole line of if you want to watch a Christmas story or a Christmas movie by Bob Clark, we're not watching a Christmas story, we're watching Black Christmas. Because
Yeah.
horror movies fans know that. Everyone knows, like, Bob Clark made a Christmas story. Well, before that, he made Black Christmas. So he also made a Christmas horror movie.
Yeah.
So definitely liked her a bunch. Now Ripper is a gentleman that fancies other gentlemen. Did you notice a theme amongst all the men in this movie?
I did not really. I did
Handlebar mustaches and mullets. Every single one had them.
Oh, well,
Every single character, aside from the bartender and the boyfriend of Toy Store, handlebar mustache, mullet.
well, yeah, because that was the scene that they were, kind of focusing on.
Well, it was the cops, but it was also the love interest from the record store, and like I just thought it was
and mullets.
Yeah, mustaches and mullets. Not just mustaches, handlebars. Big old boom brooms.
The only male appearance I noticed was, the producer Josh Ether playing the bartender, and his large stature and shaved head and large beard was the only thing that drew my attention specifically to any of the male characters. He was looking damn fine in this movie.
I noticed that like the two cops looked almost identical, aside from the one cop that gets killed at first. Like the two that are at the police station when they do the Terminator montage, or like homage, like literally looked exactly the same.
Yeah, it was almost kind of hard to tell them apart at times. It was like, okay, how do you even find two? I know that they had to have done that on purpose because things Joe does in his films are purposeful. Uh,
Well, I think it was like Vicious Fun. Remember the cop scene in there where like the serial killer had to go pretend to be a cop, and all the cops all had
Yeah.
mustaches. So when he showed up, he had a fake mustache on.
Oh yeah.
Like I think it was like one of those things where like this is what a stereotypical cop looks like in my world.
You could
yeah, I
definitely
think
tell.
specifically you have to say in Joe's world because I don't know in any other world it's going to be handlebar mustaches and mullets. But
Well, not only that, not only in this movie, but like Bliss and Mind's Eye and all that. Well, like nothing of it seems like fully familiar. Like it does have like a mildly otherworld kind of thing. Like this
Yeah.
one especially was all like hella snow, hella crit. Like they went balls to the wall on decorations, but there was no one in this town,
No,
and there was
I was
snow
wondering that
every
too.
fucking where.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
And the other cool thing. Oh, go ahead.
well, shit's being blown up in like the toy store and the record store. I was like, does nobody walk by or, because they showed like nobody in the town, like even in the houses and stuff.
Well, it was Christmas Eve, so they're probably
That's
sleeping.
true.
But what I'm saying is like, even when shit's hitting the fan and people should be waking up, like,
Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah.
But it has this. Joe Bagos has a way of making his world feel like his world,
Secluded.
not like it's happening in your hometown. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then when we talked about the lighting, I really appreciate the light in this because he went and did it in Christmas colors.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like ornaments were supplying all this crazy light. So it was like reds and greens and yellows and blues, like it was definitely, this one was super heavily lighted. And they must have went ballistic with the snow machines in this thing.
It was definitely like you could tell as soon as that thing started that it was Joe Bagos because it like that signature lighting, like you just know. Like the toy store didn't need to be lit. Kind of gives it this like cyberpunk sort of feel, which the toy store didn't need that as much. I was like, man, what fucking kind of toy store is this? Although it was at night, so you're right. It was coming from like the Christmas tree and the lights outside the window, but it's so intense. Yeah, it's so intense.
I think
like
that was a way he made it like just ooze Christmas, Like when I talked about Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 earlier, I was like, hey, Christmas is the backdrop. You might see a tree or something back the way. No, like this was, you could watch 3 frames of any of parts of this movie and be like, that's a Christmas movie,
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I wasn't a fan of Christmas Bloody Christmas was the dialogue. For me, if you keep repeating profanity or if you keep repeating like racial slurs or like any sort of derogatory terms, it becomes redundant and loses its power. And if you're gonna say fuck, it should be a nice punctuation. It should punch up a scene. But when the character is using it for every other word, like it got boring for me when they are talking to each other. And I don't care if people are like, well, that's how people actually talk. I don't care. This is a movie. You've created a world and now you're creating characters. They're supposed to be like, well, that's how people really talk. I'm like, no. Okay, they don't have to say fuck every other word. So for me, that took me out of the movie a couple times because I knew that they were having like genuine conversations about movies and music like they do in Tarantino films. But the overuse of fuck just it kind of killed it for me. What brought me back in every time though was the action, was the horror, was the fight scenes. Those fight scenes were amazing. And like you were saying, Chris, that finale is probably one of my favorite finales in any recent film. It's just so intense and beautiful, and definitely beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful in the way like the remake of the Night or Evil Dead finale was. Like that same sense, because it was like epic and big like that. You know what I'm saying? It was great.
One of the things I really also enjoyed about it was like the attention to little details. Like he did little things that he didn't have to spend a lot of money on that had like a big impact. Like even like having like the green light coming out of the Santa's chin after it got damaged a little bit and like the red off the side. And it kind of like as he started getting kind of knocked apart. Like it was just like little things that just added so much to it. And like the as he walked, they did like the heavy stomp, the boom, boom, and like anytime he moved, it was like a whir, like
yeah,
you know, like they were really like pounded in that this is a robot, you know.
You could hear the mechanics in it, just him just kind of walking around from the first scene that he moves. And I was like, I even commented on that to Ethan. I was like I love how you could just tell that, boom, you know, like it was cool. I like it.
Yeah, he did a good job of like making it feel like even in his movements, you know, like very mechanical.
Although the face was still very human.
I thought it still came off as like a fake face that was meant to look human.
Well, I actually popped when I looked it up and I saw who was playing the robot Santa Claus was actor Abraham Benrubi, and you might know him from a sitcom from the 90s, Parker Lewis Can't Lose. He was a big goofy kid. And
really?
yes. So to
really?
see him,
okay.
Yeah, to see him in this movie playing the killer robot Santa Claus, that definitely made me pop because I was just like, oh, is that freaking guy I had a crush on when I was a teenager?
Love it.
And then of course, you know, I've got a Santa Claus fetish, so just knowing that's him underneath the robot makeup is kind of hot.
Yeah, I still felt it did like they did give his skin like a little bit of a plastic look, you know? Like you said, it looked realistic. I think it looked like something that was plastic trying to look realistic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and he did a great job of coming across as mechanical.
Oh yeah,
and the lights and the wires and stuff. And I thoroughly enjoyed
those wires, the glowing wires.
The wires, So when they showed like the back and like the rib cage area, that was sweet.
Totally gave it that 80s VHS, you know, straight to video feel.
Almost Tron. You know.
I don't know about that.
Just with
you're on
the
your
wires.
Own on that one.
Just all right, I might be reaching there.
That's
But,
okay.
Yeah, you're reaching on that.
Definitely...
When was the last time you saw Tron?
Yeah, too long.
But definitely wore its influences on its sleeve of being very hardware and very Terminator influenced.
Yes.
Yeah, you could tell that there was definite scenes where it's like I really loved this scene in Terminator and I want to do it my own way, or hardware, like the police shootout scene. You know, like they didn't have all the people, like the budget to do it like they did in Terminator, but he did his own version of it and he made it more of a cat and mouse thing than a big shootout, you know. And then the end scene, you know, not only did they do the hardware thing, but then they did like a little tribute where she knocked the record case over on him and he's crawling, and that's kind of like when the Terminator was crawling out of the vice at the end of Terminator and like had its legs broke off, you know, and like it's all ripped apart. And I thought it was really cool the glowing eye effect too, that even when they weren't showing the Santa, you could tell it was still looking at her because you could see the eye lasers like staring at her, knowing that it was coming at her, you know?
Yeah, I like the impending doom of those laser eyes were great. Yeah, you know, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. You know, just like I said, the dialogue kind of bummed me out just because it seemed like it was it just felt like it was lazy writing for me. But besides that, the action was exciting, the gore was exciting, the brutality I loved. So yeah, I would probably just fast forward past the dialogue if I were to watch it again.
Yeah. After seeing it the first time, the setup takes a little while. So yeah, it's probably worth skipping the next time just because, you know, it's just two sexually frustrated people like aggressively flirting with each other, getting drunk for like 20 minutes, you know?
Mm-hmm. Basically, having a lot of conversation about music and movies and what they would listen to over that one. And, you know, but yeah. And the references they do reference her. There's some good ones there. A lot of what she'd say, like, Pet Sematary 2 versus Pet Sematary 1. I think I agree with her statement.
I disagree.
There. Yeah.
I love Pet Sematary 2, but Pet Sematary 1 is a genuinely creepy movie.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that to this day and age that Zelda scene doesn't still.
That's exactly what I just thought. Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys give it?
I gave it a 4. It was a fun Christmas movie, like front to back, keeps you engaged. I laughed at times. A lot of action, you know. I liked it. You didn't need too much storyline. You didn't need too much explanation. It is what it was, and it was a fun fucking Christmas movie. I enjoyed it.
I'm pretty much on the same page. I'd give it 3.5. I know it would have been a 4 definitely, but like I said, I got bogged down with some of the dialogue. But I love the action, and I love the killing, and I love the original idea of the killer Santa Claus being a robot and not just a slasher. Because we've seen a million movies where it's a killer slasher. It's like, okay, something different, and I definitely applaud that, and I applaud his dedication for the specificity of when you see a Joe Begos movie, at least like the past 3 have a similar aesthetic where immediately you're watching one of his films, and I love that.
Yeah.
So 3.5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5 as well. It's not my favorite Begos movie. I say this is honestly, and this almost sounds like it's a slam on it, which it's not. It's in such a strong field. It's probably one of the lower ranking ones of my enjoyment, but it's still a fucking fantastic movie. That's just me saying that about a guy who makes great movies in my eyes. Like I like all his movies. I still think I would probably go to Mind's Eye or Bliss or VFW first. Favorite kill.
I'm sorry. When the girl's watching the dude she's banging in front of the car, and he kind of just. Oh no, that was a cop that he axed in half. Whoever got split in half in front of the car. Yes.
I was gonna go with the neighbor mom taking the claw end of the axe straight to the head. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was, it may have been quick, but it was a good one.
It was a good one.
I'll go with the guy repairing the car, getting the axe through the middle of his face into the grill of the car.
No, yes.
I enjoyed that one because it was like a real close up. I like the practical effect when they do that, like head splatter shit. Like that one a lot.
That was a good one. There was a face stomping one too, like a head.
Yeah.
Was that the mom? Or it was one of the neighbors. It was in the beginning. Because I was like, they're just banging while he's down there stomping in faces. Like I said that.
Yeah, no.
Favorite thing about
a lot of great kills. But yeah, those were definitely the top kills of the movie.
Least favorite thing about the movie. Dialogue for Germ.
Yeah, I already went over my least favorite, so I'll just skip over me.
Ooh, I don't know. Off the top of my head. I don't know. Let me ponder on that.
Fair enough. I would say it felt like it meandered a little bit in places. It felt like it could have been tightened up just a little bit in editing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Then the setup took a little too long. Like there was a little too much following the girl and the guy. And I know that's to get you to care about these characters, and they both did great performances and all that. But we got the point. 3, why aren't we banging jokes into it? And by the time it was on the 8th one, it's like, all right, get over it, dude. Like, she's gonna fuck you obviously tonight. Just go with it.
I might agree with you on that about how it took a little long for the setup. That might be what I'll go with. But there was nothing that really stuck out to me as like, I don't like this about this movie. It was mostly enjoyable for me. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, all in all, I think we all liked it. And this actually was our 40th episode. Well, Kelly and I, 6th for you, Germ, but 40 episodes.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yay. High five.
Blah, 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 blah.
So we'll be back next week with our, instead of having a movie, spoiler movie, we're going to have each of our top 10 favorite horror movies of the year.
Damn, I thought we had one more week of Christmas. I was still picking out Christmas movies. Like, I'll do this one. I thought my weeks are fucking time's going way too fast, man.
Ain't that the truth?
You're right. But yeah.
So we'll be seeing you next week, kiddos. Keep it creepy.
Very cool. And God bless America. Send nudes. Ow!
And sand.
Hey, all you cats and kittens, all you ladies and lady killers out there in real Violand. This is your old pal, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, saying keep it spooky, keep it creepy, keep it real vile forever. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share all our content. Ow!